Following is my conversation with Gaspare Licata. Gaspare is the CEO of Crank Brothers, a California-based mountain bike components and accessories producer. Before becoming CEO of Crank Brothers, Gaspare was the international sales manager for Fizik. So thank you, Gaspare. Can I call you Gas? I read some articles where people call you Gas. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So nice to finally have you on.
Pleasure.
So yeah, like I said, I wanted to dive into, maybe at the beginning, we can just kind of talk about your background a little bit. You've been working in the cycling industry in Italy for quite a while. Can you maybe tell us a little bit how you got started in the cycling business?
Yeah, one of my real first job was not in cycling, was in headhunting. I was working for Michael Page, and I was not very passionate about cycling. Basketball was the only sport I was really focused on. But
Did you play
unfortunately, yeah, I played.
professionally also, or
Let's say semi-professional, not enough to make a living out of it.
what position?
Shooting guard.
Did you have a good shot?
Yeah, that's probably the only thing I had, but yeah, but yes. If the question is specific about the shot, yes.
Okay.
That was my
Mid-range,
strength.
three-pointer?
Three-pointer, but even mid-range, but three-pointer mostly.
Do you still play?
So what I was saying, when I was 24, I had an injury. Actually, I had a big injury when I was 14, and let's say it came back when I was 24, and I couldn't almost walk anymore. For sure, I couldn't run. So I had a few surgeries to try to get myself back walking and not really running. So sometimes I can go and play half court, but it was a coincidence because 24 I started working for Michael Page. The only sport that they tell you can do are cycling and swimming.
Right.
And at the beginning, I mean, Italy was mostly road cycling, and I didn't like those guys in Lycra. That was my first reaction. So I started swimming. But then when I was around 27, after 3 years working at Michael Page, I met an ex-basketball teammate of mine at the gym. And he was back then was in charge of Fizik. And he told me, look, we are looking for someone. Why don't you come and have a chat with us to work with Fizik? And then the rest is history, because I started working for Fizik. At the beginning, I was in...
At the very beginning of Fizik. It's not that old of a brand, so it must have been right at the beginning when Fizik
was still small, but was probably around 10, 12 years old. The brand was, yeah, it was 10, 12, but the first years was very small. The first 5, 6 years was really micro brand. It exploded. It got on the map when the Arione was launched, which, if I'm not mistaken, was 2001, 2002, when Simoni rode the Giro d'Italia with the Arione saddle. And that was the real beginning of Fizik, and I joined a little bit a few years later. And everybody was road cycling. So I said, you know what, I might give it a try. And I stopped swimming, because even though road cycling didn't give me all the emotion that basketball gave me, was the sport that definitely was the closest to the emotion that basketball was giving me. And the beautiful thing about cycling in general was that you can do it until, I mean, if you are in decent health, you can do until you are 80 years. So you can really start a sport 27 and you don't have to stop at 37 or 40. So I started road cycling and work with Fizik in parallel. So I don't know if I started road cycling because I got passionate about the cycling business thanks to Fizik, or I got passionate about Fizik because I got passionate about road cycling. And
what department were you working in?
Sales.
Sales department?
In charge of sales, yeah.
Okay.
The beginning Europe, then international business. Then when after a few years, I was in charge of all the Fizik business. And that when the opportunity to come work for Crank Brothers came in, which was...
So wait. So you worked at Fizik and you were able to grow the brand. It sounds like you were able to grow the brand pretty significantly.
Yeah, those were the years that we launched the shoes, which were pretty disruptive, probably not as democratic as the current one. We launched the shoes and it was a long project. We had a lot to learn. We made a lot of mistakes, but that's part of the process. Sorry?
It worked.
Yeah, at the end, yeah. Now we can say I'm very proud to see where Fizik got with the shoes. if
Because
I
it sounds
remember
like
where we started from.
they promoted you. I mean, it sounds like you went from, sales to international sales to then sounds like you were running the whole physique division. So you were doing something right.
Yeah, there was another guy that we were co-managing the company, and I think we were a pretty good team. We worked well with the team. We grew a young generation of managers that were pretty good. We had fun. And
what is it about physique that what did they do differently? Because physique, it's a really clean, I mean, the way that I see it, but I want you to tell me if you don't mind. It's a really clean and sharp kind of, it was a different type of a brand when you guys really started kind of going at it. Is that fair?
Yeah, we wanted to be a performance brand, no compromise, clean design, and we're not scared to try things. I remember at a certain point, we launched the curve saddles, which was really a new way to make saddles. It didn't last many years because there were some technical issues, but in terms of what the product was meant to be, it was a very interesting product because it was a saddle that was really following, the shell of the saddle was really following the movement of your body. So it was not a foam, it was not even this new 3D print. It was like really the shell of the saddle that was the saddle, but it was not like a piece of carbon that was super stiff. It was just moving up and down and following the movement of your body. So that was a very interesting project. Then, yeah, obviously the shoes. Then we launched, the spine concept. That was a very, I remember back then was just specialized and us specialized with the body geometry and us with the spine concept that we were really able to develop a guideline on how to choose. This was, I don't want to say the beginning of bike fitting, but almost. And as a saddle manufacturer, it was very important to us to really make sure that the consumer was choosing the right saddle. Because sometimes you are going to a bicycle shop, to a bicycle event, and a consumer will say, Fizik is not comfortable for me. And you say, which saddle do you buy? This one. Yeah, but based on your body type,
everyone's
this
different.
saddle it's not about Fizik being comfortable or uncomfortable. It's about you picking the right saddle within the Fizik range. And I think that was a very forward-thinking project.
And so you were able to be part of this brand, which still is an innovative brand, but at the time it was really new, really innovative, where it kind of was going away from more, because this is like the story that I continue to see in cycling is there was this traditional kind of look of cycling, road cycling especially, that was then disrupted. Rafa kind of did it. Canyon sort of did it. Specialized has always been really kind of disruptive in general. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like Fizik was able to come in and just kind of give cycling a different look. That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I agree. And that was the beauty of it, the culture of it. And when you do that, oftentimes you don't please everyone. But at the end, I believe that you need to stalk. It's better to stalk few people than try to kind of please everyone.
Oh, I love that. That is such a great saying, especially in road cycling. I mean, you really do have to find your niche and be very deliberate, because then people will appreciate that. That's awesome. So you were able to kind of find your way. It sounds like you had some success with Fizik as part of the Selle Royal group at the time. It still is, obviously, just to give people an idea. And then this Crank Brothers project came up, and tell me about how that happened. It sounds really exciting, like cool opportunity. I don't know if you had a family at the time or not, but to go to America, the new brand.
Yeah, it was actually perfect timing because the group needed someone to move to US and try to make Crank Brothers more successful. And I wanted something new. I really wanted to learn more. And I realized that although you can always learn a little bit, I was not learning as much as the first few years at Fizik. And I got married a few months before with my wife. That was an ex-colleague from Michael Page. And we moved to US in 2014.
And she's Italian.
She's Italian, yes.
Okay. Was that a hard sell? Because I know Italian women, typically, they don't like to move too far away from their home?
No, she was even pushing me to move.
Okay.
No, she loves California. She wanted to have to try a different life. We always said, I mean, if we stay here and we do the same things, we are always going to have the same outcome, which was nice, but you don't build a lot of experience if you always do the same stuff. And we said, we need to try. And if it doesn't work, we're going to find a way, but you got to try to learn. And we always, and she's the same than me, like we always want to become the better version of ourselves.
Ambition.
And
you guys have a shared ambition.
Yeah, which is not the traditional ambition of the title of that
No,
stuff
not necessarily.
But
in this
to
sense, just
improve,
growth, to grow,
yeah,
to evolve.
we want to evolve, and you need to try. Sometimes trial development is not always coming from a super sophisticated and great planning. Sometimes you just need to try, and if it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't, and for me was even always a kind of a dream to try to, as a brand and business guy, to live and work in the country that was I call it US is the headquarter of product and marketing. And I want to go and work in the first economy of the world and try to understand why this country is the first economy in the world, why this country is able to build so many successful companies. And if you think about, you live in Italy, right?
I do. I live in Torino.
Yeah. So if you open Il Sole 24 Ore or any other newspaper in Italy, check if there is any company with a marketing capitalization above 100 million euro that has been founded in the last 20 years. Check if you find one. In the US, I think, yeah, for sure, 4 of the 10 companies with the highest capitalization in the stock exchange, they were founded in the last 20 years. I think Facebook, Google, Amazon, maybe 25, Amazon, they're all relatively new companies. In Italy, it's still like a 100 years old family company that our grandparents founded after the Second World War.
Oh, there's definitely
and banks and energy companies.
There's a culture of innovation and a culture of absolutely of startups in the US and just fostering business that is much more developed than Italy.
But in Italy, you might have some innovative company that they get to 20, 30 million. But the point is, how do you go to 1 billion? And
it's
that's
different.
where, yeah, or even 500 million.
It's different. It's definitely different. It's not as geared towards that. Absolutely, I totally agree. But I'm going to push back. The cycling world is in Europe, though, right? The road cycling world, the center of it.
But where are the most important companies in the cycling world?
The biggest ones are in the US. Yeah, Trek. The biggest ones are, but I'm talking about the biggest concentration of cyclists and cycling is in Europe, right?
Yeah. I mean, road cycling.
Road cycling. Yeah, definitely.
Road cycling, yes, is the culture. But what at the end, which one are the companies that lead SRAM and Shimano, even more than bicycle? I was thinking SRAM and Shimano.
Sure.
And you saw, and Fox, if you think about, and during the pandemic, you saw how much those companies were the most powerful one, because people was begging to get their parts. And now one of the issues is that people was not able to manage, or they were not able to receive in the right way all the products from the 2 companies that you need to work with. Sure. I think every bicycle company has an account with either one of them, probably both of them.
So you went to America, you convinced your wife, very fresh wife at the time, to come with you. And what was the mandate from your company, from Selle Royal, for Crank Brothers? What were the goals?
Try to build a company, a culture that make great products and then can make all of us proud of.
Were you a product person, or were you more of a salesperson?
I don't know if they ever told me really what to do, but I think I don't think we had
That's
a
very
meeting.
Italian. That's very
Yeah, I don't
Italian.
think we had a meeting. These are the goals. It's more like just do it.
You know what to do.
Yeah. No, you know what? I believe we didn't have that meeting.
So, but were you a product person in Fizik, or were you more of a salesperson?
I was more of a salesperson.
And then you came to Crank Brothers and you needed to learn the product business then.
I was, so in terms of, I think I understand decently what and even back then, what the consumer will want. I have no idea of how to make it. But in terms of the product marketing, I ask a lot of questions. I'm very curious. So oftentimes I've been able to understand what will work in the marketplace. Then for sure, I need to be surrounded by a lot of people that know how to make it, because I have no clue.
So talk about that a little more. How do you decide what to, because making a product is very expensive. And for you to go to your company and say, we need to make this, it's going to cost a lot of money and you're making a huge bet. I mean, you're putting your own reputation on the line. So how do you decide on what to develop and where to go? Like what is your process?
But this was the first step at Crème Brothers was not even about what to do, because back then the company didn't have a great reputation in terms of the product reliability. So I remember that before moving here, I was reading on blogs, on social media, on the reviews of the different websites that were selling Crème Brothers products. And there was this comment from that said, hire more engineer and less designer, because Crème Brothers was known to be to design very beautiful products, but they wouldn't last a long time. So before innovating, I thought that you need to start from the basics. And the basics was, okay, let's make sure that our product lasts a long time. Because my goal was to try to, and our goal became to build a company that could improve, in a brand that could improve the rider experience. But even before improving, you don't want to screw people ride on the trail because the product doesn't last. You so there was a rider for a few months and then you destroy the rider. You don't want that.
So there was a reliability problem that you had to address initially. And then once you were able to, I'm assuming that you had some help from perhaps your teams in Italy.
We changed, we changed the most of the
suppliers.
Most of it, no, it was not. Actually, the supply were mad at us because there were some engineering and or poor spec component in the product that were made. And so it was not the supplier. We changed some of the team here, some of the engineers. So
it was a problem with the engineering of the product and the spec of the materials, or?
Yeah, because to achieve certain margin, they spec some lower end bearings, for example. So it was needed to shift the culture we need to make the best product we can make. We need to make them last. And then we will worry about how much do they cost. But you cannot compromise, and you can never compromise on the quality. So the fundamental is this. So it was a cultural shift. First, we make great products. In the meantime, we try to keep an eye, because you don't want your pedal to cost $1,000, but I prefer to sell a pedal for $1,000 to 50 people than have to sell 1,000 pedal. 50 of them, they need to come back walking to their house. Sure. So we changed some of the people. We really worked on the culture to really aim for excellence. And some people shift, and they were very proud actually to see a different desire for excellence. And then they did most of the work. The team did it. Only my main contribution was really try to make sure everybody aimed for excellence. And then the team, you could see people like really stepping up. And that was very beautiful to see. It is very beautiful to see.
So coming back to the product, and it feels like you guys have expanded the ranges pretty significantly over the years. What is it that how do you go about designing where to expand and kind of what products to develop? What does that look like?
Yeah, we have two product managers that have the goal to really study, analyze the market, analyze the opportunities, and to think about what we should do and where we should go. At the same time, one of the things that we are really proud of is that everybody in our company mountain bike. And everybody can go on the trail and come back to the office and say to the product manager or have set up a team meeting, I saw this product or there is this issue, we should come out with an idea on how to improve the ride or how to solve this issue. And that's a very beautiful process. Sometimes it's a bit confusing because sometimes could become a lot of extra work for the product team. But without being schizophrenic, we need always to be fast, proactive, and reactive when someone of us see opportunities. And the other interesting thing is that we have not just people here in the US, we have 3 people in Europe, and they give us a different perspective. Sure. One of the things that we changed and was to try to build a team that was much more international.
Why did you want to do that?
Because before I noticed that the culture was mountain biking is California
mountain bike.
Period. But mountain biking is not only California. Mountain biking, and this is from the testing of the product, that if you test a product in California, is a great testing for sand, corrosion, salt from the ocean, like I don't know you say in English, but this environment. But if you test a product in British Columbia or in UK, in Washington State,
Switzerland,
all the testing of the sand and stuff and the hot doesn't count at all, because you need to test the mud, the cold, the freezing, and all this kind of stuff. So this is from the quality perspective. It's very important to have people all around the world and to have testers all around the world. But second, people mountain biking in different ways. Even when you estimate the potential of the product, cross-country in Europe is very different than cross-country in US. And e-bikes, for example, I remember we got to develop e-bike wheels quite early compared to other American companies, because in Europe it was already relevant, e-mountain biking. And in US you had a lot of people that just 3-4 years ago, mountain biking is BS, is not core, I'm never gonna do that. And we are always trying to progress and innovate, and we had strong feedback from Europe. I mean, I'm European too, so I felt it too. And we start understanding which products are required to be specific for e-mountain biking. And we try to make it in a very authentic way, because to develop certain products for e-mountain biking just for the sake of putting a sticker and bullshitting the customer and selling a little bit more is not what we are there for. But we learn about e-mountain biking a little bit earlier than others. So we understood that making an e-mountain bike pedal was, maybe one day we'll come with an idea, but you want from the e-mountain bike pedal the same thing you want from a regular mountain bike pedal. Right. I mean, e-mountain biking, the center of gravity is lower, so you want to do the pedal thinner, but you want to do the pedal thinner even for regular mountain biking. So we didn't find at least any strong reason to make it specific. But wheels, both on the hubs, the spokes, and the rim, the load that the wheel has to withstand on e-mountain biking is definitely higher than with a regular mountain biker. The speed you go on the uphill, the way you ride is much. So we developed a mountain biking product, and we understood it was a priority quite early compared to other American companies because of the internationality of our team.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a real culture of product in the company, and that probably is what has given you a lot of the success that you've had. Yeah,
our company is built around product. Marketing and sales are very important because the relationship we have with our consumer, with our customer, and the way we work is one reason of our success, as the way we communicate. At the end, the most important part is the product. It's is like a restaurant. I mean, you can create a great experience around the product, but if the food sucks, you don't go nowhere.
Was this something that you that you brought from your experience at Fizik, or is this something that was already here in Crank Brothers, or was it a combination of the?
Fizik, definitely we had it. We really strive to innovate and develop great products. So this is one part of the baggage. I think in the building, there was the desire to make great products. I think they were not good listener, and great products they come from listening, and even from the other thing that to me was important to improve, which maybe is Italian culture, or maybe was our culture of Fizik, was a lot of great innovation and products that come even from conflict. And if it's not conflict, let's use a more mellow word, disagreement. And instead, what I noticed that in California, especially, Southern California even more, people struggle to disagree. Or if they disagree in a way that is not always very clear. Let me make you an example. When we were having a meeting, and at the beginning, I was very roady, so I knew nothing about mountain biking. And I had this product, I was asking, so what do you think about this tool, guys? And it's good. And I say, okay, it's good. And the other one is okay. Okay, it's good, it's okay, it means it's a good product. Let's move forward. And then like 1 year later, so if you said that it's good, you said that it's okay, so why aren't we selling the amount that we expect to sell? But okay is not really okay. So why did you say okay? So at Fizik, when we were there, we would yell at each other, scream at each other. This sucks, it doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. By the way, this is a great product.
So and the culture of communication that you're able to bring.
Yeah, and if you trust each other, you're gonna be feeling more free to disagree.
Absolutely.
And I think probably is even the fact that in US is so easy to let people go, probably penalize some people to the full freedom of expressing their opinion.
So we'll have to explain this because we're going to probably have some American and European. So in Europe, the work contracts are really rich for employees. And so for them to be let go, it's a really long and expensive process. Where in the US, it's called an at-will contract. And so when you work for a company in the US, you're basically renouncing any sort of rights to have any severance or anything like that. So you can let someone go. So you're saying that perhaps in certain situations with that fear, people maybe just want to kind of not want to make too many waves. But it sounds like you were able to kind of identify that and be able to perhaps find a way around that.
Yeah, at the end, yes. In the US, I mean, the discussion about the contract could be very long, and maybe I'm not the best person to explain all the nuances of that. But for sure, in Europe, the employee is much more protected.
Sure.
In case,
but there's a downside to that as well.
Yeah, exactly, and that's in US. Sometimes I feel it's harder to create an environment where people really embrace 110% the brand, the company, and the culture.
I agree.
Because the company can let the person go after 1 minute. I mean, if you read the articles, Google let people go and they didn't even receive an email. They woke up in the morning and they couldn't turn on the computer. That's what could happen.
But don't you find also that people are also willing to go even farther because of the opportunity to grow, because you can grow faster in the US?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fair.
we also need to say that because someone in Italy is protected, but the upside is actually quite low in a sense that there are mandated levels of pay that are quite rigid in Europe, where in the US, if you have someone that comes up with a good product, a good project that makes a lot of money, you can just decide, here's a $5,000 bonus. That would never happen.
For sure, US, for people that deserve, we would say is much more meritocratic as an environment.
And that impacts performance as well. Yeah. Right.
And if you do it, even if you get let go, it's much easier to find another job.
Sure.
I speak about Italy, or Mediterranean. Germany, I think, is a bit in between in a certain perspective.
If we want to go into this discussion,
no,
right?
Exactly.
This is a big one.
but anyway, there is a people. You know what would be very interesting to see a data, maybe there are, of how many jobs someone change in their career in US, and how many jobs they change in Italy. Probably the average of people changing job in US is like 3 times more than in Italy. I would guess.
At least. And I understand what you're saying. I guess maybe if we can kind of close this argument out, you've worked in Italy and you saw the production and the way that the worker with the laws is incentivized, or however you want to label it, versus the US. Is there anything that you want to kind of we can close this out if there's anything you want to kind of round out on this topic, comparing the two?
I mean, I think would be extremely superficial to say which one is better.
No, of course.
So there is that one that you might prefer the most as a person, as a human, but I don't know which one is really the best one. And the easy answer would be a balance between the two.
Sure. It's different. Depends on what you want.
Yeah.
So I wanted to dive into quickly, how much time do you have?
Yeah, I can.
We can keep going. Okay. Yeah. Just let me know. So COVID, from what I saw from Europe, it was a huge boom for the brands and for cycling in general, as we know. Once things sort of the demand caught up and the lockdowns came down, what I'm seeing is right now at this moment, April 4th, 2023, if you didn't have some cash flow, or if you didn't prepare for, the eventual, because the lockdowns created some artificial demand for the lower part of the market and the mid part of the market, that you could be struggling right now. So as of right now, what are you seeing in the market as a CEO?
You described it perfectly.
Okay.
So I can repeat what you said, but yeah, I mean, people overestimated the size of the market and how long it was going to last. And now you see already, I mean, it was looking Bicycle Europe 2 weeks ago, and like there were 7-8 company either on the verge of bankruptcy or almost, and I think more that will be coming, because this inventory situation is happening at the same time where all the central bank are increasing interest rates.
Right.
And a bicycle for many people is a discretionary item. So I think there are still some opportunities probably in the mobility, on the electric mobility, because at that point the electric bicycle becomes an alternative to the car or to other way to commute that might be more expensive than the bicycle. But if you think about how many regular bicycle non-electric have been produced, I think it's gonna take a while before all this inventory will be cleaned out. The other issue is like inventory is high, interest rate is high, and earnings will come down because people, to clear out the stock, they will have to discount the products they have. So what's
your relationship with, I ask this sometimes when I talk to CEOs, what's your relationship with Amazon like? I know I didn't put this in the notes, and if you don't want to answer it, that's fine.
It's fine, because it's a topic that I discuss and we discuss all the time, internally and externally. I think in business there is I mean, you should not start they are bad or they are good. It's not an ethical discussion, which some people try to bring into the ethical discussion. I remember, I make you an example. I remember 10, 15 years ago, people was complaining about chain reaction. I don't sell to chain reaction, blah, 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 blah. And then when the inventory was high, the first people was calling was chain reaction, please, please buy my stock. So everybody has a place. And a lot of the people that complain about Amazon themselves, or probably their wife, they have packages arriving from Amazon every day.
2, 3, yeah.
So
because it's bigger in the US than it is in Europe. In the US, 85%, I think 85% of households have Amazon Prime
and you know
in the US.
That 65% of product search in North America start on Amazon.
Oh,
so
yeah.
what it means, you pay Google to be on the top, but most of the people, they look first on Amazon for a product, then on Google.
So
in North America. So what is our position? Our position is to have the right product on Amazon for the people that would buy some of our product on Amazon. Meaning, today Amazon is not capable and is not the right platform, for example, to sell a $2,000 carbon wheel set.
Right.
So we don't sell to Amazon the carbon
wheel set.
Of course
not. But a mini tool.
Exactly.
Mini tool.
And as simple as that, we try to have in each platform that we sell to the products that are the right one for that kind of consumer base.
Yeah, because the thing about Amazon is that they have a gigantic customer base, the biggest in the world by far. So what you're saying, and I think it's super, another really interesting thing that you said, in addition to some of the other things we talked about, was you need to use that platform to its full potential by serving the products that those people would potentially want to find on Amazon. So, do you sell directly or do you go through resellers?
We have the Selle Royal group distribution called Highway 2 in North America that sell to Amazon.
Okay.
I mean, the other question is, sorry, you should ask the question, but is connected to Amazon.
Okay.
Amazon is seen as an alternative to bicycle dealers.
For who? Explain. I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Meaning, people like the people that complain about Amazon oftentimes said, yeah, because we need to support the bicycle dealers. Because if you sell to Amazon, you still sell to the bicycle shop. And I'm not saying that you might steal a little bit of sale to bicycle shop. The reality is that that consumer doesn't want to leave their house.
Right.
It's a bicycle multi-tool and go to a bicycle store.
Yeah. It's absolutely 100% true that people just don't have time.
At the same time, we know how much important are, especially certain bicycle dealers, for the community. And our real answer, instead of say, no, we don't sell to them because to us is not the right answer, we try as much as possible to support
everybody.
Bicycle dealer with the training that we don't do to Amazon, with events, having our people go there, help them to build events. And every time they ask for some support, we try to help them to generate more traffic into their store. So if you go to our website, you might find the link to bicycle shop in each area. So if you want to buy a specific product, you know which bicycle shop has it in your area. We don't put the Amazon link, go buy on Amazon, but we put the bicycle shop. So that's where we are. We want, for as much as we can, support the bicycle shop that are relevant to each community.
Well, and I think that
which we see is another sales and marketing goal beside Amazon.
No, and I think not only Amazon, but marketplaces as well are similar in a sense that I've had this conversation with a few clothing brands where the dealers, they don't stock clothing anymore, or at least they don't stock very much clothing. They only stock some of the really the black shorts from maybe ASOS or something like that. Just those really, really good sellers, but ranges from, certain brands, they're not going to stock them anymore because they know that they're going to find them on Amazon or Wiggle or discounted. They know that's just the way it is. And now even directly on the websites. And so it's just, I think it's a matter of what products work best for which platforms. So like you said, wheels in the bike shops, multi-tool on, maybe the marketplaces, it needs to be in both, where you wouldn't see the wheels on Amazon. And now, like I'm saying, the clothing, typically clothing, you're not going to see it in a bike shop unless it's clothing that's personalized with the bike shop's name on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
And so these are just the dynamics of the way that the market is changing. But so from a D2C perspective, can you just talk a little bit about what your guys' is kind of in the near term and moving forward?
Yeah, we want to be where the consumer is. As I said before, like we innovate with the product. We want to be sometime ahead of the consumer with the product. We want to understand before the consumer what he wants and what he will want. In terms of distribution and communication strategy, we are more following the consumer. So I don't like to say that we are followers, but the truth of the matter is that we are.
You have to,
so
if you want to survive.
If the consumer is on Amazon for a multi-tool, we are on Amazon for a multi-tool. If the consumer is in the bicycle shop because he's buying a new bike and is buying the pedal with the bike, we will need to be in the bicycle shop. And if the consumer are in an event in the bicycle shop, we want to support the bicycle shop to promote our brand within the bicycle store. And if the consumer, because of the exact reason you said before, wants our new limited edition green shoe, which the bicycle store
isn't going to stock. Nope, no way.
Because it's going to stock only the black shoe, maybe the blue, but that's more or less because it cannot. It cannot stock 200 pair of shoes. No, and I understand it. So it's not his fault. It's like that's the truth, the reality. He needs to buy in our store.
Yeah,
in our e-commerce store. And
so your mandate to your we'll call it sales team, or your mandate to your revenue team, is to make sure that Crank Brothers is where the customers are.
Correct.
That's a super eloquent way to put it. Well, this was a lot of fun, Gaspare. I really enjoyed talking to you today. So I won't be at Sea Otter, but I'm assuming you will be.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe you want to just give us where people can find you on socials, Crank Brothers.
Yeah, my personal one, the Crank Brothers.
It's up to you. Whatever you normally, when you sign off from these, I typically ask people.
So go. Yeah, I'm not that interesting. So go on the Crank Brothers Instagram account.
Okay. Well, cool. Thank you again, Gaspare.
And if you are below 25, we have even TikTok account.
Oh man, we'll talk about that on another episode. if TikTok is still available.
Exactly. If they don't ban it here in US.
They don't ban it. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna stop the recording here and.
Okay.